day 58. The blog was about, it's called Do You Desire to Be Dominant Submissive? And within this blog that I just read the self-forgiveness for, the basic point was polarity, living within a polarity playout of submissive and dominant, based on a memory I held onto as a child, where I one of my basic primary memories and how I lived my life out within my childhood was defining myself by looks and how I looked and how others looked. I saw the look point as a way, a definer within society and a definer within kind of my group of friends and like classmates and stuff. Your looks were who you were, and you know, this was a primary point that people defined, well, I guess it was a primary point that I defined people by, and thus I expected myself to live up to this point of perfection, and especially the look point. And this was always a mess up because I never accepted the way I looked, and I never was satisfied with the way I looked. And so it was a constant internal struggle and internal conflict within myself because, you know, I wanted to look a certain way, but I couldn't, because you can't change the way you look. I mean, you look the way you look, and that's it. And, you know, it was a lot of comparing myself to a lot of people, and, you know, within the comparison throughout my years, throughout my life, throughout my childhood, I upgraded into a superior picture in my mind where, you know, I always looked to this picture to see who I was, if I was acceptable enough, if I was able to, you know, integrate into a group or not, if I would accept myself to integrate into a group or not, based on looks, and I would go into a submissive role or a dominant role based on how I accepted myself and perceived myself within looks, and comparing myself in looks to others. Fascinating, because this was all like unconscious, subconscious stuff. You know, as I've walked my process, I've realized a lot of how I was existing, and like looks was a huge point because I don't know, I was always attracted to like really good looking people. Like I don't know if it was an enjoyment or it was like a fly to a light or something. And it was like guys I was attracted to, even when I was younger, like young kid. I remember being really attracted to, like, I'm not attracted, but like guys, like, you know, my age kids that were, you know, cute. And like, I had a whole idea about what kind of life these people had, what kind of life, how they lived their life. They had such an easy life and an easy time because, you know, my idea of having good looks was, you know, everyone accepted you, everyone liked you, you always had good opportunities, and you always got to do what you want because you just had an easier time in life based on the looks. And, you know, you saw the opposite polarity of that, of those who aren't very good looking, and how hard it is for them, and how people don't accept them and are mean to them and stuff like that. And so, I kind of resisted that lesser, the negative polarity of this playout and looks, and desired the positive, because the positive was nice feelings, and the negative was the bad feelings. So I was chasing this positive experience, this good experience. And so, within myself, I played out the points of I abused myself internally, and I totally judged myself and went into submission around those that I felt inferior to based on looks. And then from that initial childhood definition, I upgraded it, and it kind of expanded into personalities and how people behaved within themselves, and how I was compared to that, and if I could compete with them, and if I could keep up with them. And it got to a point in my later years that if I didn't see that I was able to compete with these people, I would just suppress myself and go, I had this like silence, and I just wouldn't participate. I've talked about this in the past as well, but this is, I don't know, I just did another dimension of this point of submitting to people and then being dominant towards people, if based on this polarity plate of looks. And it was developed as a child. I, defined myself by looks when I was younger. And so I remember being in a bathtub with a bunch of other kids. We're just like in the ocean or something, and the people's house we were at, they had a big bathtub. So we're just all taking baths in there, and I remember looking in the mirror and like being very disappointed with myself, because I was judging myself with the other kids and seeing myself as not as pretty as them, and I'm never going to be pretty, and I'm never going to be able to, have this idea that I had in my head of this awesome life based on me not being pretty. And if I wasn't going to have, like, it was an absolute thing, if I wasn't the prettiest, then I was going to have a shit life. And I was thinking this when I was 6, 7 years old. Obviously, this has been imprinted within media and TV and movies and all that sort of stuff. So, it's a big part of society, like celebrities and like those magazines and such, plastered everywhere. Just, you have to look a certain way, you have to be skinny. So it's a real, cultural problem, societal problem of, pushing these pictures and images that aren't able to be lived up to by the, average person. It's like a fantasy world you create within your mind that you desire to have that kind of life. Have the looks, have the, and with those looks within myself, I created this idea of what that life would be like if I had those looks. I would have such a great life, and I'd, get everything I wanted. And so, again, not accepting myself and going into dominance over others when I saw myself as, better looking, and then playing into the submissive role and allowing others to abuse me based on seeing myself as less than them. So living into polarity playouts, accepting myself to live into these polarity playouts, accepting myself to abuse life within being dominant over them, and bullying and all that kind of stuff, and then being submissive and allowing others to abuse me. And I created it within my own self, within my own world, internally within myself, and within my life throughout the years, I, in different stages, lived it out on both polarity ends. And it just cycled throughout the years. I mean, I've always existed in this kind of pattern of desire to be this perfect look and have a perfect life based on a picture that, you know, defines a whole being. And it's actually has no relevance into who we are as life. The pictures that we see is not even really physical reality we're seeing. It's through a filter called our mind. And it's showing us what the mind wants us to see. So we're actually not even really seeing physical reality. This was just explained in Anu's video. Maybe it wasn't Anu's. I'll find the video and place it here because it was a cool interview to understand how the mind works and how we see physical reality and how we miss physical reality as well. So a lot we don't understand yet, a lot we're doing kind of blindly, living within our minds and not realizing the consequences it has to our lives and the world at large. And so I continue to walk my correction to stop defining myself by looks, by pictures, through polarities, stop submitting myself to others, stop defining myself less than others, and stop dominating others and defining myself more than others, but live here in physical reality and common sense and practical living in a way that's best for everyone, establishing myself equal among all. So thus we can create a world that is equal among all. It starts with self. So I walk my self process. And that is it for tonight. Thanks for listening, as always, and enjoy.